What is your I was into X before it was cool thing? Male 2004ish. When it was invite only, my friend had a small amount of invites and the counter for free storage space would keep going up. Same here. I got my first name point last name email address and now I get emails for tons of other people with my name. I also got Facebook when it was the Facebook and required a edu email address. I worked for a movie theater chain in 1996 and my boss got a VHS copy of Jesus vs Santa Claus at some industry event. We watched that video a dozen times and laughed our asses off. About 6 months later South Park debuted on Comedy Central and we were very excited to see it had been picked up. Oh man, just made me realize I'm getting old. We weren't allowed to have cola much growing up, but we drank a ton of seltzer water. I kept drinking it as an adult and people made fun of me for how weird it was because it's not a thing people casually drank. They thought it was either a mixer, like they acted as if I was drinking straight margarita mix or something from a Frau health store. Then fucking LaCroix came along or whatever it was that made seltzer suddenly cool a few years ago. I mean, I'm glad it's even more common with more flavors and stuff, but I used to get teased so much for it. I'm originally from Europe, where sparkling water is common and the norm. Kept drinking it after I moved to the US. Tried to introduce friends to it in junior high school and they all thought it was weird and tasted funny. Now it's everywhere and I'm so happy. I don't have to go to little European specialty shops or settle for club soda anymore. Same exact thing happened with Nutella. In Europe, kids aren't raised on PB&J, but on Nutella. New Americans who refuse to even try it. Now it's huge. Skateboards, 1964 or so. Damn, that's before the Lords of Dogtown. Spotify. I remember I had to use a VPN to use it in my country. OMG, I forgot about this one. I distinctly remember telling people about it when I was in 6th grade, 2011, and my teacher telling me something like there's no way that's legal/legit. I remember when everyone was trying to get an invite code for it before it was open for everyone. I got one just before it opened up. Snowboarding. You couldn't even bring them to resorts 1983. This is before it was too hot. There are still mountains that prohibit snowboards. I don't understand it. I remember seeing the Burton Mads in Thrasher. We couldn't afford them, so a friend of mine made a few out of wood. He curled the edge by steaming the wood, I believe. For bindings he stapled down strips of bicycle tire inner tubes and we'd slide our feet under them. Sent and back quote electronic mail message from my car using a HP 48G calculator and a ham radio in 1993. That feat got published in a technical magazine. Nothing about that first sentence sounds cool, but I know the G is for gangster. Edit. Thanks for all the love, upvotes, and awards. To answer the common questions, I wrote a terminal emulator for the 48 grams. That talked to a terminal node controller, which is like a modem to interface between the calculator and radio. The message, don't remember the exact details, but I was 16 so it probably went to my mum's Prodigy account to say hi mom, went through the ham radio packet network until it hit a node with an internet bridge. The car was my Pose 88 Mustang that I bought for $1,800. Lastly, the source for G is for gangster as it relates to HP 48G comes from the incredible Nerd Rap Entertainment System album by Ed Crooker. I don't know what those things are or how they work, but you are a damn trailblazer. Respect. I disagree. Sounds cool as fuck. Dude, that seems pretty awesome. It sounds like something out of an action movie where the nerdy sidekick is able to get out a distress signal and save the day. Nerdy guy pops up from a bunch of wires and computer parts. Alright, I rigged up my calculator to a radio transmitter and was able to send electronic mail. Grizzled Bruce Willis Warnabe, frantically firing his handgun around a barricade. What does that mean in English? Armored personnel carrier bursts through the wall. SWAT team starts pouring out. Nerdy guy looks really proud of himself. It means the cavalry's here. Bitcoin. Altcoins didn't exist when I got started with it. Mandatory disclaimer, no, I'm not a millionaire now. I kick myself over Bitcoin all the time. I had a few hundred Bitcoins when they were hardly worth anything. I bought a pizza and some PC parts and stopped mining. Same, I bought 5 at $20 each to buy 1/4 ounces of weed off the Silk Road. It worked. Also not a millionaire. Home computing. I started in 1976. Before RGB there was only green. Steve Wozniak, is this you? I had a friend in high school ask me in math class one day if I wanted to go to a concert with her that night. Her sister had extra tickets and she thought I'd want to go. It was a New Kids on the Block comeback tour and I said sure, why not. My mom didn't mind me going. We sat around chatting before the show and the opening act was some woman who appeared to be drunk, but her music was really good. Nobody had ever heard of her and she only did a few songs, but her music was a total earworm that was hard to get rid of once it took hold. Went home that night and googled her single Just Dance and downloaded it immediately. And that's how I discovered Lady Gaga. I discovered her in a music blog, liked her songs, and followed her on Twitter. She followed me back for no reason. She still follows me. This is a good one. You just never know who's gonna make it. The How to Train Your Dragon books. Unfortunately they are still not cool yet. There's books. I remember when you could read every comic featuring Deadpool in under 2 hours. This was around the time I said an Iron Man movie, and they got some wash up to play him. This'll go over worse than Daredevil. I was pumped for the Iron Man movie because I had loved the 90s cartoon series that no one remembers. I remember when Deadpool was just a crappy Deathstroke knockoff. I used to record myself playing video games when I was like 5 or 6. When my parents gave me the VCR they replaced in the living room. Because of this early hobby, me and a friend did video game playthroughs on YouTube in 2007. We were certainly not the first, but we were damn early. We also used a cap card straight out of the gate, rather than doing the old recording the screen crap that looked terrible. I used to want to record playing the Atari 2600 in the early 1980s, but I didn't have enough cables, and trying to get anyone with spending power interested in my idea was a no-go. Now I'm in my 40s, and have a cable obsession. Not the same, but my grandmother taped everything. She would tape 3 to 4 different soap operas on separate TVs. Then she had a loop of literally hundreds of tapes she would watch in order. She would tape over them over and over until they didn't work anymore. She taped things like American Idol too, I think. She liked it because she didn't have to choose one soap over another and she could fast forward commercials. My grandma invented binge watching. I came across the Lonely Islands website when I was about 11 or 12, /0 to /03, before Andy Samberg or the other two, Akiva and Jorma, were big. They had a video where they spliced all these old Northeast games together into a skit, and it was friggin' hilarious. I never realized that video was them. I love that video. Thank you. Do you happen to remember their TV pilot or Hometown? It never even aired, but my buddies and I saw it before they became popular and joined SML, and we absolutely loved it. We used to quote randoms bits from it all the time. Reminds me of Donald Glover JRS. No comedy group. I would show people the videos of bro rape and stuff alongside some Lonely Island things. Then that dude blew up like 4 to 5 years later. I guess THST would be my claim to ahead of the curve. Listening to Nirvana's Blue Song on student radio, NZ, in 1989, and thinking these guys are good. My favorite Nirvana song. I first saw The Simpsons when it was a sketch on the Tracy Ullman Show, and thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. I was ecstatic when I learned they were making a full cartoon of it. I watched it religiously up until about season 15 or 16, before I finally switched to every once in a while like we all eventually did. I feel you. The love is there, but it had to evolve. They used to be with it, but then they changed what it was. Now what they're with isn't it anymore, and what's it seems weird and scary. It'll happen to you. Another Simpsons season zeroer. I was around 6 at the time and my parents would let me stay up a bit late to watch the Simpsons sketches. They showed Simpsons roasting on an open fire for the 30th anniversary and only then did I really realize, oh yeah, I watched this the very first time it aired. Tracy Ullman. She's legendary. First saw her in a 1983 video I Like They Don't Know About Us. FWD to 1998. Watch her shine in Panic with W.H. Massey, Donald Sutherland, Neve Campbell, and John Ritter. Since we are on subject of rarities. Hulu in 2008. It used to be completely free, browser based, with no ads. It was the only way for me to watch new episodes of Heroes every week. Netflix in 05206. Getting not one, not two but 3 DVDs sent to the house for just $9.99 a month. Lol. I used to watch Deadliest Warrior on it when I was around 11. I watched Arrested Development on Hulu back then. Pretty sure I watched Fringe as well. AHH. Those were the good old days. I remember watching Twisties, Glory Days, and a ton of other shows on Hulu before it became a subscription-based platform. It went from having no ads, to a few ads, to subscribing with no ads, then finally a 2-tier ad supported, and no ad premium subscription model. I used to use it to watch The Office and Parks and Rec, but I think they were ad by then. But using Hulu led me to Community. Elmo when he was just a minor Sesame Street character. We used to watch Sesame Street at my shared house full of college kids. Was a way to unwind. Sounds silly but it was a thing. I liked Elmo. He was pretty chill. Was there marijuana involved? I used to swear by smoking. We'd then watching the Smurfs until I passed out. Not me, but my parents used to use Amazon as an online bookstore before it became much more than that. I saw Borat at a film festival and couldn't quote the jokes to anyone for months. I read Fight Club because it was featured prominently in Borders. At the time, no one had heard of it or its amazing author. Sparkslive. I was in the beta. It came on a CD that you had to install on your Xbox. Halo Seon's Connect was where the real action was, though. I remember having DDR Ultra Mix for my Xbox and being able to download new songs from the internet. I was so excited. I also loved that I could upload my CDs and use them as the radio station when I played Project Gotham Racing. I was into memes when they were called demotivational posters. I remember Cracked.com's weekly image macro contest on their forums. I guess that was my early internet meme source. We used to call them image macros back in the 2001 era. Demotivational posters were kind of a subset. That and Rage comics. Oh my, they were awful, but I loved them. I was into lolcuts. I remember going around to stores trying to find all 6 issues of Infinity Gauntlet. I had read one while waiting on my mom to finish grocery shopping, and I was hooked. That made me a dork in the early 90s, but now it's a $1 billion worldwide phenomenon. Fucking A. I hear you. Silver Surfer #34. Dude, I remember sneaking over to the comic book rack in the drugstore to read the Infinity Gauntlet series while my mom waited for a prescription. Swine flu. I got it in February 2008 and was the 3rd reported case worldwide. You and the person who got corona should become friends. I just upvoted the 3rd recorded person to get swine flu. 15th person diagnosed also in February 2008. Funny coincidence. That's the most sort of cool / sort of uncool for you thing I've ever heard. How exciting that must have been. Wow. Patient 2. I caught it in October 2009. Relatively healthy teenager in high school, and it took me the fuck down. I remember crawling on the floor because I couldn't walk. I remember the breathing felt like burning ice shards in my lungs. It constantly felt like I had a stack of textbooks on my chest. I had to pneumonia on top of it. It took me over 2 weeks to recover enough to be functional. That is precisely why I'm taking this pandemic seriously. If H1N1 could take a 17-year-old down to where she thought she was gonna die, I don't even want a chance COVID. I was a beta tester for Gmail. I still have the welcome email from 2004. Edit, the email. In an ironic twist of fate, I became a Googler 15 years later, and now I get to beta test all kinds of cool stuff, even stuff my product area doesn't work on. Hating Bill Cosby. Had to do volunteer work at the local Jell-O museum for 30 hours to graduate high school in 2008. He used to be the spokesperson for Jell-O. I had to listen to him talk about Jell-O in old commercials for 30 hours on a loop. Edit. I should also mention it's the town where a bunch of kids acquired a mass conversion disorder and all thought they had Tourette's. I actually have mild Tourette's, so that's another thing I did before it was cool. The local Jello museum. That is a fascinating string of words right there. You can't just spout some shit last mass conversion disorder and not go into detail, excuse me, but WTF. When I was like 14, some monitor told me off for necking with my then girlfriend in the hall and told me to be like Cosby and hands off. I shot back that he was in the news for sexual assault, so bad example. That was in like 2004. I got Instagram when it was a photography app back in 2011. Same. I remember asking my friend how she got her photos to look so cool. That's when I discovered filters. Those were simpler times when it was more fun, personal and not filled with advertisements. Same. Everyone made fun of me for using hipster filters. I'm just glad the Nashville filter has survived this whole time. Lol. Had her same. I long since deleted that account because no one was using it. I had maybe 10 photos of random stuff I saw. None of my friends knew how to use it or what it was for, so I got rid of it. I miss that old account with the crazy filters. I was attending Comic-Con before most people knew it existed. Show up the day you want, but a ticket, and go in and shop. I have some incredible collectible movie memorabilia from back then, never thought it would turn into the enormous event it has become. Had Tesla stock at $28. Saw an article about it with a starting price of $10. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. I remember when Tesla announced the Roadster back in 2007. I was so impressed. I remember thinking, boy, if I had money, I'd buy that company's stock in a heartbeat. Oh, they're not publicly traded? Well, then let me just forget they exist for the next 8 years. I remember telling someone about the Roadster back when that was their only car. Me, it's an electric sports car. Them, electric, sports car. I bought a little shy of $300. Sold it for not much more a few months later. In retrospect, obviously wish I'd kept it, but I sold it because that stock was insanely volatile for a long time before everyone decided that Elon Musk was the messiah and just started shooting it into the stratosphere. I had over 300 Bitcoin when it was $3. I spent almost all of it on drugs and a fake ID, and then lost the rest when the Silk Road got seized. It keeps me up at night. If you sold that at peak, you could have bought more than a metric ton of weed. I worked with a guy who sold 500 BTC for $8,000. He mined them all when mining on your laptop passively was still possible. Don't want to brag, but I bought some N95 masks the second week of January. Edit. Well, some do, some don't, but I've never been in this position before, and I'm unsure of the etiquette, so thanks for the upvotes and the awards. From a 62-year-old Canadian woman who's a bit overwhelmed. I had that same thing. Everyone in California learned their lesson after the air quality got so bad during the fires and the hardware stores ran out of N95s, so we all stockpiled. Someone had a big brain moment. What made you buy them then? Snapchat. I downloaded it when it was in its early stages and then deleted the app shortly after because none of my friends were on it. I still have people asking me how I got my username. At OHSNAPYO. Yo, my Snap username is literally just my name. That's all. And I'm surprised it wasn't taken, since there's like 7 people in my state in the US with the same name, middle name, and last name and same birthday and age as me. But I made my account in 2017 and am still surprised at that I got it. I was in marching band with Markiplier. He was my trumpet section leader. It's weird seeing all these memes and all these famous people talking about a guy I was in high school with. Were you there when he messed up his solo in a full stadium? I was in high school drama with John Jaffery of Jontron Infamy. I feel you. Oh, he was a band kid. Makes a lot of sense now actually. Is that the band of backquote 87? Got any stories? It would be interesting to hear some more. I saw the pilot episode of South Park. I thought it was the funniest shit ever. Showed it to a coworker who said, "That's the stupidest thing I've seen." Fast forward to when South Park goes nuts and he comes in and says, "Have you seen this hilarious cartoon called South Park?" I said, "Do you remember that pilot episode showed you?" He shut up for a while after that. was using Netflix since 2001. How many DVDs at a time? Not me but my brother, and I shit you not, it was fidget spinners. He continuously kept telling me how they were going to take off and we could get shit rich if we 3D printed and sold them at school. One of my greatest regrets in life. A friend of mine bought hundreds of them on the internet for dirt cheap and sold them in our school for like €7 or so each. Made a pretty good profit.
Thanks for watching. If you could like, subscribe and comment best Reddit stories for more Reddit videos.